Good morning, everybody. Glad to be with you. We're going to give it just a moment while everyone comes in. Buenos dias, buenos dias. Happy Saturday to everybody. Glad you're here. Okay. Well, we are so excited to be with you. I am Dr. Rachael Capua. Glad, just honored for the invite and just grateful for the opportunity to spend some time together this morning. I know that you're getting a lot of good information in for the day, and this is going to be, we hope, an informative 30-minute session on Success Bound, preparing students for success in high school, college, and beyond. We know certainly COVID is quite the experience at the moment. And I know many of your topics today are concerning COVID and how to navigate all these topics during COVID. So this will be no different. I also want to introduce you to a colleague of mine. Maria Vanessa Barrigan is with us, and she is also going to be hosting our chat box today. So if you have any questions in English or in Spanish and Espanol, please put them in the chat, and Maria is going to be our gracious host. She also serves on our Tarrant 2 and Through partnership team. Maria and I were both on the T3 team. We joined about a year ago, and I'll share a little bit more about that particular organization as we progress forward today. So Maria, do you want to give just a quick introduction and then we'll get started?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Cap. Good morning. Buenos dias. Happy Saturday. Feliz sabadito lindo. It's very rainy and kind of drizzly, but you know what? I'm loving the energy this morning. As Dr. Cap mentioned, I work in collaboration with her in the Tarrant 2 and Through partnership as an operations associate. So I'm also here to meet the needs of our team as well as the family and students. So anything that you want to enter into our chat box this morning, any questions, comments, concerns, both English and Spanish, I will be monitoring that for you today. So thank you for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you, Maria. Well, we're going to get right to this. Again, a lot of information in the next 30 minutes, but we are excited for this time together today. And you know, I know that there's quite a few in the room. Some of you are high school students. Some of you are already in college. Some of you are parents and family members or colleagues across our institutions. And anything that we cover today, know that whatever lens you're looking through, whatever topic that we bring up as we talk about student success, it really is meant to give you something to think about past today. So take everything that you hear. We're going to give you some tangible tools, some takeaways, tell you a little bit about T3, but we're just grateful for the opportunity to share some of these really things that we've learned along the way, and hopefully some tactics that you can take and some websites that you can visit after our time together today. So we're all about persistence and helping you to and through your journey, whether it be in middle school, high school, college, or career. And so this is what this looks like. So I wish I could be with you in person, sitting with you in person. I know virtual is not always that much fun, and it's a Saturday, so kudos to you if you're a family member, a parent, a higher ed professional, for being with us today. So if I were sitting across from you, this is what I may look like. And I just want to say congratulations for being in your journey, wherever you are. I serve as the Director of College and Career Success for the T3 partnership, which is a new organization here in Tarrant County. And before this role, I actually served on Chancellor Giovannini's staff at Tarrant County College. I'm a TCU graduate, but a community college graduate first. I went to Collin College, transferred to TCU, and I have a master's and a doctorate in higher ed. I'm a second generation Mexican American, and I'm very proud about my heritage and where I come from. And you're going to learn a little bit about my family and kind of why I've chosen education as my heart and my passion as we move forward today. So here's the 5 things we're going to talk about. The 5 top tips, if I were to take all the things that I wish I had all day to tell you about, it would be these 5 things. And I'm going to talk about the first 2 in a bit more detail. And then the last 3 will be a bit faster given how much time we have, but I'll give you some resources that you can take with you. And the first is to find your passion, right? That can mean so many different things, but you as students, as you look to figure out, what do I do with my life? What does this look like? Life after high school? There's so many things that you can pursue, and I'm going to give you some tangible takeaways and some websites that you can look to after today's conference. The second thing is proactively searching for scholarships. I want to thank the foundation, Doris, the team, all those with Tarrant County College who helped make today possible. They will give you, and I'm sure have given you already, such wonderful information as it relates to scholarships. We're going to underscore that a little bit more as we continue this conversation, and I'll give you some top tips for that. The third thing of the 5 is seeking formal and informal. Sometimes you don't need a formal mentor to get all the information that you need to be successful. It can be formal and informal. So more casual, right? Having conversations with somebody just for one, for a 10-minute time period could be a source of mentorship. The fourth is taking advantage of internships and job shadowing post-COVID. And there's some ideas for doing that even in our COVID environment. And then fifth is thinking with the end in mind. So how do you really look forward and really think about, what do I do when something might not work out the way that I thought it might? That certainly was my case. I had wanted to go to a university day one right out of high school, and I wasn't accepted. And I'll tell you, it was the most, at the time, the most devastating thing to get a rejection letter in the mail. But because I chose to go to a community college, a 2-year institution first, I then transferred into this dream university I had wanted to go to before, and had much more scholarships, so many more scholarships than I would have as a first-year student. So when life turns out to not be the right time, when you get a no, what do you do with that? We'll talk a little bit about that as we go. So the first thing here is finding your passion. What are you really passionate about? So students, when you think about what it is you want to do, and you think of college and career success, a lot of it is what you go to school for. So be it healthcare, right, the nursing track, be it other things, depending on who's all in the audience today, it's all about finding your right career path. And so many of you remember, maybe even as early as middle school, you had to decide which pathway. Endorsement is what they call it in Texas. What pathway, what pipeline, what area of interest that you wanted to pursue. These are them. Maybe it's art, music, history, writing. Arts and humanities is for you, this bucket up here. Maybe it's science, technology, engineering, and math. Maybe it's a STEM focused. You'll hear STEM quite a bit. And you like science, math, and numbers. And nursing is usually under this bucket. Maybe it's business and industry if you like making things happen. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe nursing or healthcare is something that you're really passionate about, but you want to start your own business in some way and help others, just as the foundation and the other groups a part of today are all about. And then public service, that's your public servants of where we live, your firefighters, others that are helping, police officers helping make our city a better place, especially during COVID and the things we've experienced in the last several months and weeks. A big piece of what we'll talk about today is that passion and interest. And then multidisciplinary is the other one you may have heard of. And this is just a fancy word. Sometimes it's hard to say, multidisciplinary. Just maybe you're just not sure what you want to do. And that's okay. If you're listening to this, and you're sitting in this conference today and you're like, yes, I really feel passionate about this one area, but I want to learn more. This is exactly where you need to be. If you're taking notes, this is the first website to make note of. And the little arrow, the green arrow on for me, the left-hand side of my screen, I put a little arrow for you, and it's the title of what you Google. It's My Grad, okay? I love this website. It's hosted by Texas OnCourse, and so students or parents, maybe your family member, a loved one, and you're listening to this, this could be a great resource for you, a great website for you. And it takes you through a series of questions. And so we put a star here up at the top, find your path. You just click that. You ask a series, or answer rather, a series of questions. So if you could be on a TV network or show, and it was Shark Tank because I want several businesses, you would click that. Or maybe it's America's Got Talent because you like to sing or dance, or maybe it's Discovery Channel because you like science. You click this, and at the end of this assessment, it will give you, per what the website feels and the research that they've done, it will give you some career paths, some endorsements, some information on what might be the best fit for you. If you click up here at the top right, in Espanol, you can get the whole website in Spanish as well. And Maria, if we have any questions, you just stop me in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them as we go here. This next website is Road Trip Nation, another one to write down. And this is a really interesting way to look at career exploration, finding your passion, finding your purpose. Through a series of documentaries, you can listen to videos, you can hear what it's like to be a nurse or a doctor or an attorney or an engineer or a teacher or a firefighter. I mean, you can hear stories. And what's so beautiful about this is that, and I know many of you are interested in healthcare, what's beautiful about this is that you can start your roadmap by clicking this little button here at the bottom. And you can actually create your story as you go, as you explore different career interests. There's some assessment type things here, but another really great resource for you if you're interested. And I think as we wrap up this first tip, the big thing here is that maybe you want to be a veterinarian as you see these two students, doing some internship or practicum work. Maybe, you have a heart for, doing something that you just don't know a lot about right now. We're going to talk about it in just a second, but the more experience you get, the more people that you talk to, the more conversations that you have, the more conferences and experiences like today that you go through, the more and more you get closer to finding really what you're interested in. And it can change over time, but we certainly want to steer you to all the resources possible. So let's talk about those scholarships. And I think, the second tip in particular is a great way to just figure out, how to go about this, but to go about this in a smart and strategic way. And this is you'll get a copy of this deck, after today, if you haven't already, but this is just some highlights, in working with students over this past decade, I have found that there isn't necessarily a science to this, but there is at the same time. You have to do your research, right? You have to start early. If you're already in college and you're watching this particular session, know that it is going to be an advantage to think about scholarships and financial aid for your sophomore, junior, and senior year, even right now. And I know that can sound really scary, but it's all about doing your research and knowing where to go. And that's where, again, days like this are so helpful. Always connecting with your institution's financial aid office. I know you've had other sessions where we had institutions share with you about financial aid and admissions and different things. Getting connected with those offices early is always a good idea. Staying encouraged throughout the process, right? So when you get the no, because sometimes they're going to happen, and it's, no, I'm sorry to inform you, we can't give you the scholarship at this time. Or maybe it's to an institution, we are sorry to inform you that we don't have a space for you in this incoming class, right? Those in the moment are going to feel some of the most gut wrenching. If you're a parent, you don't want ever your child to feel like they're, that they haven't made it a part of this one group. Know that sometimes even the no's are going to be the most important pieces and experiences in our lives because they get us to the right yes. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes the no is going to be exactly what you need right now because it's going to get you closer to the right yes. And so I want to encourage you in that process because it's not always going to work out the way that we think it is. And especially in scholarships, no matter where the end may lead, always send a thank you note. I know it's a little unconventional these days, but writing a handwritten thank you note on just regular paper and sending it can go a really long way to your financial aid advisor, to a scholarship, independent scholarship, a personal scholarship, etc. And then this quote here at the bottom is really interesting because It's a student that I used to work with. I used to work at TCU, and it was a student that I actually got to know. I'm still so honored to know her. She has now finished her master's degree in education. And I actually visited with her a couple of months ago, and she says, I applied to over 40 scholarships. Okay, so say 40 out loud, even though you're virtual. 40, at 40 scholarships her senior year of high school. And because of that, she was able to get over $10,000 worth of just grants, right? So things you don't have to pay back. A grant you do not have to pay back. And that helped her for her books, for expenses that she might not have known she would have had otherwise. And so 40 seems like a lot. It takes a lot of time to do those things, right? It takes persistence, right? You got to keep going one after the other. But if your family unit is strong, which if you're here today independently by yourself, or if you have siblings, they're going to look to you in every scenario, in every situation. If you can lead them and show them the way for being successful in college and career, scholarships and financial aid is a big piece of it. So starting where you are, being okay when you get a rejection, keep going, and you'll get to the other side. These things I'm not going to talk about in detail, but again, you'll have reference to them. These are just 10 steps for creating strong applications, scholarship applications, getting organized, requesting recommendations, tracking due dates. And so you'll have this in your records and at your fingertips to look at after today. And then this is my personal website. It's just drrachelcap.com. And I put this in here for y'all because there's a resources page at the top of the website. And this has been a passion project. I have found that in working with students at several institutions, sometimes you just need a place to go for encouragement and support. And so for parents, family members, higher ed professionals, that resources page breaks it down to say, I'm working with first generation college students. What are some resources? I'm a Hispanic, Latina female who needs scholarships or wants scholarships for this particular area. There's a section for that. For grad students, even when you're looking to go to grad school someday, maybe a lot of what I cover and have available on this particular website is for grad students, but hopefully you find it of interest and wanted to share that as well. Number 3, I'm going to go through these next two pretty quickly. Seeking formal and informal mentorship opportunities. Again, this does not have to be, something complicated. Sometimes you just need a little bit motivation and advice. Maybe you need, help setting a particular goal. I have found that some of my best mentors are people who I have met with maybe 3 or 4 times, they changed my life that significantly in 3 or 4 times. Some people I've talked to for years. When I was exactly where you were, there was people who who changed my life at my community college, my 2-year institution, at my 4-year institution in grad school and work. And I've just kept up with them. So know that it doesn't have to be scary. If you're an active social media user and you're in college, especially if you're a first-year student, get a LinkedIn page now, and start seeing who you connect with and who they're connected to. It's never too early to start mentorship. So know that for sure. The 4th here is taking advantage of internships and job shadowing. So gosh, I know COVID is hard right now. And I know that in, T3, the organization that I'm about to talk about just briefly, I know we started a little late, so I'm going to try to close this out at about 12:05, unless I hear otherwise from our team on the back end. But I'll share with you a little bit about that organization. And if you're a part of Fort Worth ISD in particular, that's the ISD that we're launching the T3 partnership with. We will be hosting internships and job shadow opportunities for you all, hopefully starting in the fall, given COVID. But this is a big piece of figuring out where you want to go and what you want to do. And we know that that's very, very important. So finding experiential opportunities to get connected, it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal internship, or it doesn't necessarily have to be, a big 6-week endeavor. You can volunteer at a nonprofit. You can job shadow a parent or family member. You can, or a friend who has a job that you may think, or a career path that you might think is of interest. Maybe you want to work in education, and you can send Maria or I a note, and Maria, maybe you could put our email addresses in the chat. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't want to be maybe fill in the blank, but I'm interested in working in education where I work with a lot of students and it's in higher ed. I'd be happy to connect you with somebody in higher ed at many of the institutions that you've heard about or heard from today. And maybe it's just having a 30-minute conversation with them via Zoom. I mean, you can start informal internship opportunities like that, service learning, research, student employment, et cetera. And then last but not least is thinking with the end in mind. And I wanted just to share a very quick personal story. The man you see on the left, I could do an hour talk on, but I'm going to do it in 2 minutes. This is my uncle Roy P. Benavides. He was a master sergeant in the Army. President Reagan is on the right-hand side. And this is my favorite picture because if you're familiar, those that are a bit older, remember the G.I. Joe figurines, the G.I. Joe. When you got one, it was just like so special. My Uncle Roy was the first Hispanic G.I. Joe. So it represents who he was. He was a man who stopped going to school in elementary school. Okay. He didn't have passed an elementary education. And yet he ended up working where he needed to. He shined shoes for military members nearby. He worked the fields. He worked hard to provide for his family. And he was a bully at the time. He would tell you, he and his friend, he's since passed away, but his family will tell you he used to be a bully in school because he didn't know any other way to figure out what to do or what life would lead to. But he turned his life around and he ended up going to the military, which is a career path that I think is one that's often not talked about. It's one that I think is just equally as important. But his story was that he went to the military. He served in Vietnam, the Vietnam War. He became the first Hispanic to receive a Medal of Honor recipient at this level. And President Reagan asked him to travel the country. And he asked him to tell stories to students just like you, that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your family, who your family is or what you've done, that you can achieve great things through education. And although he never had a college degree at the traditional age of 21, or no matter, his life led, I mean, he was wounded several times. I mean, he fought in battle. He just experienced his hardship. But he chose, after he got out of the military, to talk about education and to talk about career pathways and ways that we do now, right, all these years later. And he did that because education has the opportunity to change lives, not just for you if you're a student, okay, not just you individually, but for your family and for generations to come. And if you don't leave with anything from these top 5 tips, and it's just this last one, to think with the end in mind, think more than just yourself right now. Think about all the things that you have ahead of you. And if, again, you have siblings, those that will impact, your decisions will impact those others. And I think if you were to think about this story, and my Uncle Roy in particular, he didn't let anything get in his way. He didn't let anyone tell him he couldn't do something, because persistence is power. Applying for scholarships, 40 plus if you have to, is power. Having conversations like we are today, although it's virtual and you're here, is power, because you're equipping yourself with the information that you need to be successful. Okay. And so I am going to spend the next 5 minutes, really just kind of honing in on a particular program that, again, just started this year. I won't have time to share the video. These were the 5 tips we just talked about. But in these last 5 minutes, I want to tell you about a new organization. Maria and I are honored to be part. And Maria, I'm actually going to have you share about it, if that's okay, in Spanish a little bit, because for any on the call that that would appreciate a bilingual perspective on this particular organization, I think it would be a really good one. But if you just want to give just, highlights, like a minute or two highlights on T3, and then I'll close with some of our specific information.
Sure, thank you. Buenos días. Para los que nos están reunidos hoy, mi nombre es María Vanessa Barragán y como dijo mi colega, la doctora Rachael Capua, estamos trabajando en una organización que se llama the Terrence To and Through Partnership, T3 en abreviado. Y básicamente lo que hace esta organización es ayudar a estudiantes, particularmente los de la preparatoria, en énfasis con los estudiantes de tercer y cuarto año de la preparatoria, para que se enfoquen y tengan una trayectoria después de que se gradúan de la preparatoria. Es decir, si quieren ir a la universidad, si quieren ir a un colegio comunitario, si quieren tener una carrera técnica o si quieren inscribirse, como dijo, en una carrera militante. Así es que nosotros, parte del programa es brindar apoyo como en forma de becas, en persistencia y asegurarse que los estudiantes tengan un título o una credencial. Y más antes que todo, romper ese estereotipo de que nuestra comunidad no puede sobresalir. Claro que se puede sobresalir. Si necesitan ayuda o tienen más preguntas, en la caja chat aquí voy a poner el enlace de nuestro sitio web para que puedan visitar más. So, Dr. Cap, I hand it back to you.
Gracias, Mary. Thank you so much. Thank you. And this is a topic we could talk about all day. We're so passionate about this new organization. And when you get the information at the end, there'll be a video. If you have a moment, it's about 3 or 4 minutes, you can watch the video. But for those that haven't heard about T3 and this organization, this is what we're all about, and so if you're in Fort Worth ISD, this is the first district ISD that we're starting with. And essentially, we're all about helping more students in Tarrant County graduate with a post-secondary degree or credential. That is the mission, okay? That is our heartbeat for why we're doing what we're doing. And so if you are a student in Fort Worth ISD right now, if you're a senior and you took the T3 Partnership Pledge that I'm sure you've heard about, I hope, this first year, we are offering last dollar tuition-free scholarships to Tarrant County College. So in other words, if you see some of this last dollar language, that just means that all the other scholarships that you apply for, maybe you're on a Pell Grant or you have other federal or state aid, maybe you get an institution scholarship. If you have any money, any dollars remaining to cover your tuition, T3 will pick up the rest. And if you meet income eligible requirements, it's all based on your family's income, we'll cover that scholarship component. So that is a huge piece. We also have the same scholarship at the University of Texas at Arlington if you're a T3 scholar. And then we're working with 6 institutions that you see here: TCC, Tarleton, TCU, Texas Wesleyan, UTA, and the University of North Texas at Dallas, to offer bridge programming the summer between your last year of high school and your first year of college, persistence coaching to help you along the way when you don't know where to go. You'll have us, our team, and our representatives at these institutions to go to if there's questions. And then we're going to offer transfer student support. So it's going to likely make sense for many of us, it was for me at least, to start at TCC. It was the best decision going to a community college first that I actually ever made. My research is in transfer. I wouldn't be who I am today without it. If that is your path and you want to transfer to one of our 4-year institutions that you see here, and we'll be adding a couple others next year, we'll also have some of these scholarships and supports for you. So visit our website, t3partnership.org. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have via email. My contact information is available for you here. Students, I'm not as cool as I could be because I don't have TikTok and I don't have Twitter, okay? But you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Rachael Cap, and I do try to put out some encouraging things, some resources for college and grad students. If you're in higher ed and we have not personally connected, I look forward to connecting with you. My information and my email is there. And I just want to say congratulations for being a part of today, because I think it's never easy to do something on a weekend, but when you're a part of conversations like this, you are genuinely and sincerely making every step that you need to move forward. So with that, thank you for all that have made today possible. Thank you for having me. And I'll turn it over to whoever I need to turn it over to
Well,
for
Dr. Cap, I did want to address real quick, one quick question, if I may, from Adriana Rodriguez here in the chat box. Really quick, particular with scholarships. Are these scholarships only for high school students or also for current college students?
Great question. So this is our first year for T3 in particular. Our website has all the information, but it would be for any seniors graduating from Fort Worth ISD this year and entering Tarrant County College or one of our other partner institutions next fall, so fall 2021. It's a great, Maria just put the website in there for you. This is just a very small teaser to this program, so we could do another hour session on this, but just wanted to give you some intro to it. There are eligibility requirements for scholarships. So if you and your families are interested in learning more, all of those are on our website. Maria, if you could put our support at T3 Partnership email address kindly, you can email us and we'll walk through all the steps with you. If you have questions or concerns, we're happy to do that as well.